Lion Golf Academy members and guests, in today's golf swing analysis video, we compare two giants in their own right, Jamie Sadlowski and Martin Borgmeier. There is a 6-inch height difference and an 80-pound weight difference between the two, and this is one of the reasons I chose to analyze their swing side by side to show how they are both able to hit the golf ball well past 430 yards. Get ready as we unveil the power and grace of two of the longest hitters in the world. Get ready to witness the Battle of the Giants. Lion Golf Academy members, welcome back, and we have a great one today. I'm going to show you how two men that are built completely different can still muster enough power to hit the golf ball. Jamie Sadlowski on the left side is a more traditional approach, very lanky, not too tall, 5'10", 160. Guy on the right side, Martin, is 6'4", 6'5", 250, 260. He's a built athlete, and he uses a lot of power, plus some rotation, but mostly muscle power. Now let's take a look at their setup, because we're going to do things a little differently here. We're going to go setup and straight to impact and talk about shaft leaning, because I know that's what everybody tries to cheat in their setup. And what you'll notice on both gentlemen is what we can see with that yellow line. We see the club head, the hands, the chest, and the head all matching that line pretty close. Jamie is spot on with that ball position, matching right at the center. So this is what I preach every video I have. For those of you who get those hands ahead, you are inviting chaos. Now I know Martin on the right side does get his hands ahead, and I'll show you what happens, but let's go straight to impact. Again, we're going to do it a little differently. The only way to get true shaft lean at impact is your right shoulder action. The only way to keep that right shoulder action is by having a lot of rotation and creating room to get that right shoulder tilt. Now let's go straight down to impact with Jamie, and let's pause it right here. Perfect. So we see that shaft lean, right? This is what everybody tries to cheat the system in their setup. But again, look at the relationship between the shoulders and the hands. That's the only way you get shaft lean. Let's go to the right side of the screen now. Let's get him in impact position. Boom. That's probably the closest we're going to get with this video, but look at that right shoulder tilting down. Look at the hands, and I guarantee you when he strikes that golf ball, his hands are right there. So there's shaft lean again. But because he is such a centered golf ball position versus Jim on the left side, they get there differently. Now let's rewind and see how they get down to impact and why this works. All right, the key thing in this video is to remember there is no one swing that is alike on the planet. We all have different swings, different arm ratios, leg ratios, heights, weights, rotations. So this is why I do these videos, to help educate you and understand your swing is your swing. Make sure you work with somebody to help you on your venture. Let's go left side of the screen. We have a great setup again. We're going to go to the midway point, and look how nice and wide this is. Midway point on the right side of the screen. We can do a little dancing here. Now this is why I say Jamie's a little bit more traditional, because you can see his setup is more traditional, and you see he doesn't do a lot of dancing like these modern day long drive swingers. And I say modern day, but Jamie was about 10-15 years ago. Let's take a look. Now the reason why he does this kind of dancing is to accentuate the weight difference. So he's going to go right left, right left, right left, and then he's going to pull off to the left side. Now we do see as he pulls off this slight forward press, but are his hands connected to his chest? They're still connected, so he probably opens up slightly to get that position. But again, this is his trigger, and he's just going all out. Let's take a look at that backswing. Now watch his club shaft. This is pretty impressive. Look at that club shaft just flutter already. That looks like impact right there. But we're going to take that club back to midway point, or as close as we can get, and start to see some differences here. We're going to pause right there. That's about as close as we can get. So what do we notice? That the set spine angle with Jamie versus the set spine angle with Martin on the right side, a little bit different. So we have one that is more upright, which is on the right side, one that's more leaning back, which is traditional. Now he has set this in motion, so he's basically perpendicular is that line. So that is basically what he's trying to swing around. Perpendicular, this is very up and down. Now good things for both of these. Now the right side, believe it or not, when somebody has very strong hands and arms like he does, that the hands and arms try to help you out because he wants to use that power that he's built up by lifting all those weights. You see a more centered golf ball position, and there is some rotation, but this is where the hands and arms can help you if you do have strength in that area. Let's go a little bit further back. Now what we can see here is as Jamie takes it back, we can see that's usually right about where it would be a-okay. I mean, this is perfect to perfect. But he doesn't stop there. This is more like John Daly-esque. So he keeps that club going back and back and back. So let's pause it right about there. So you can see how much more of an angle he has established. Some of that was turn. A lot of this was hands very high. So he gets his hands extremely high. And we can tell that we see some spacing between the head and the hands. If you have your hands low, your hands will disappear at this point. But let's take a look now at the right side of the screen and see a similar position here. So club is almost as far back. We have an extreme amount of rotation here. Not too much rotation in comparison. We see a lot of rotation with the hips on the right side, not too much in comparison. So we see now who is storing the most power. Well, it all comes down to your X factor stretch. Now, we're going to try and draw something here. Hopefully this makes sense. So if you can just kind of imagine that these two lines are connected and these two lines are connected, they start spinning around each other. We're going to draw the same line here, and they'll start spinning around each other. So which one looks a little bit more torqued? This one looks torqued. So we see that that is definitely retaining a lot of X factor. So it's 1 degree from the other. Once you maintain that, now the unwinding occurs. Some people get their hips to activate sooner and hold their shoulders back there. That's called X factor stretch. Now, if you get X factor stretch, you are building up even more power. But what we can look at is where in relation is the club. So the club is pretty similar, but you'll see how much wider. That's hard to draw a straight line when that club's bowing like that. So let's try our best and do a straight line just from the hands. Now, which one is wider away from the body? Obviously this one. So when it's wider away from the body, that means this is more body oriented. Now if we stretch the shoulder tilt, the shoulder turn and the club position, you can see they almost form a T. Here it goes well past the T on the left side. So on the left side the T would be there, but you can see how much more of his hands and arms are involved in this swing. Now, either one I'll take in a heartbeat, but they're just different. So we're seeing two different motions. Your swing is probably a lot different than your neighbor John's. So keep that in mind. So let's clean up some of these lines. Okay, so now let's work on our way down to impact. So we see, look at Jamie. So he gets a lot of this groundwork. He's driving, he's shifting the weight from his right side to his left side. Very toe based. So you see how his toes are doing a lot of the work here? So I like to see athletes on their toes, right? We have to be on our toes to be an athlete. You don't run around on your heels. So a lot of this distribution and motion is on the toes. Now as we drive down into it, he's still slightly on his toes. And I'm going to pause it right about there. Let's go to the man of the hour on the right side. So here we see the lower body getting over. We start to see the right shoulder sticking down. We start to see a spine angle that's kind of resembling Jamie's. But as we get down closer to impact, and what we're going to do is try and pause it right about the same. Let's pull up Jamie a little bit further because I know that video is a little bit different. We see some spine angle changes, right? So Jamie's still in that spine angle. Look at how perfect that is. That is just still on that line. It's pretty close. So let's back it up. Yeah, it probably would have been pretty close there. Now, if you take a look at this guy on the right, a little bit different. So he's kind of adjusted his spine angle to tilt under. Now, that's the only way to get that forward press, the shaft lean correct. So if he stayed in his initial spine angle on the right side, there's no way. He'd be blocking every golf ball to the right, being late all the time. So he's essentially trying to tilt back to allow him to come more from the inside. Now, what we're going to do is take a look at the hand position in relation to the golf ball, because that's a huge thing. So why don't we change colors for this? Let's make it a nice blue one so we don't have all these different weird colors going on here. So let's draw golf ball to hand position, golf ball to hand position. So we see they're relatively the same. And let's go club head to golf ball and club head to golf ball. So what you can see now is in that same similar position, we're starting to form what looks like that triangle. The goal of this triangle is just to tell you, you've got to hit that golf ball in that set amount of time. So what we're going to do is we're going to trace that right hand, because this is what's important, what separates both of them. Because Martin on the right side had a more centered ball position, he's still tilted under correctly to match Jamie's tilt. Now, if Martin had that golf ball where Jamie's was, he could now rotate through and try and strike it with his body. But because he is so much stronger with his upper body, he's trying to add that extra power with his hands, which is something I don't recommend we do, but for them, hey, all bets are off. So in the next frame, we'll see the right hand action moving across. Now, if we draw a line from the top of his right hand to the top of his right hand here and extend that line, we can see that line is relative to his initial spine angle. Now if we take a look at the line on the left side, if we do top of the hands here and go just past impact, we can see that the hands are again relative to the spine once we draw that out. So what are you learning about this? That wherever your spine is pointing in relation to your golf ball, that's where your hand path should be from the front point of the view. Now, if you don't have a correct hand path to match your spine, that means something's going on as well. So all these pictures start to make sense. And the more you watch these, the more you can start to learn about how to pinpoint some sort of things. But the key thing is look at that spine angle. Both are hanging back. We have one Martin on the right side who is more hand dominant because his arms are just like tree trunks. So he needs to use them, and that's where he gets a lot of his power from. Escape on the left side, we see that nice long release. We can see that club head is parallel to his initial setup, where on the right side of the screen the club goes way past parallel. This is just the video quality is a little bit low, but there's where the club is parallel. It's nowhere near to his initial, but it's closer to his spine. So the club is working around his adjusted spine angle, which is that right shoulder tilting down, but it's nowhere near his spine angle that's set up, which is the yellow line. So which one of these two, if you had to pick one of them, looks pretty much dead on, back and through, matching lines? I'd say the one on the left is a much more reliable swing under pressure. One on the right side is just a power hitter. There is probably very little consistency in this, which is why they have to hit 10 or 15 golf balls to hit 1 or 2 in the fairway. You got to admire both of these motions. Let's keep on going through on the way. We see those hands again. This is the story that I tell everybody. Look at those hands in front of the chest. That's the only way you hit the golf ball. Even here we can see the right hand has definitely activated a little bit too much. It's now favoring the left shoulder, but it's still somewhat in front of the body. And then we see that full turn, and the same thing here. Now what you can tell on this finish is which swing do you think is going to survive longer. Let me clear up these lines. So let's ask that question again. Which one of these swings will survive longer? I see both of them have some issues, and I know in 20 years time they're probably not going to be swinging this hard, but this one has some issues on that lower back, and this one has some issues on that left knee. So just be careful, boys. If you're watching this, I doubt you are, but if you're watching it, just be careful. But I hope you like that, ladies and gentlemen, and if you do like that, hit the like and subscribe. It really helps me grow, and I will see you next time. Fairways and greens.